I'm going to introduce Virginia. She's going to answer all the questions. I just talk, and then she does all the hard part of having to answer for all the things that I said wrong. But I'm going to introduce Representative Goodwin. Kim has allowed me to do it. It's fun for me to introduce someone. There are few people in the House who speak with such passion about issues. Few people who, doesn't matter who she's talking to, she's going to talk the same way, she's going to come at you hard and all that kind of stuff, and it's important. And it's important because the person who speaks to you, as you may know, is the only African-American woman in the Oklahoma House of Representatives. That's clap-worthy. And I don't say that just because it is, important distinction, but there is a fair amount of discrimination that comes with that. There's a fair amount of, you got to have a fair amount of toughness if you're going to be that person toward the end of the legislative session last year. I was there as Regina had to face quite a bit of disrespect there on the House floor. And so it is a tough road to toe, but there's not a person more equipped to handle that tough road to toe. There's not a person more equipped and more passionate about our constituents and what is right for us to do in the state than Virginia Goodwin. So I'm happy to introduce her as my neighbor over, I'm in 72, she's in 73, my neighbor, my friend, and my caucus member, and one of the toughest folks that the state legislature has ever seen, Representative Virginia Goodwin.
First of all, everybody, just thanks for coming out. I certainly want to say to Representative Nichols and Representative Gaddis, thank you, Kim, and all that have invited us to come out. But I tell you that when I walked in and I saw Representative Nichols and I saw Representative Gaddis, it makes my heart smile because I know what we go through when we're down in Oklahoma City. And just to come into a room where you know you got a friendly face, you've got someone who has some common thoughts and a common philosophy, it makes me feel good. It makes me say, yes, we're on the right track. Yes, good people are serving Oklahoma. And I tell you specifically, Representative Nichols, everything he says of me, I return the same to him. He is a fighter. He is somebody who's going to have the facts. And he's not going to be afraid to talk about those facts. Doesn't get involved in a lot of emotion and all that. He's just going to tell you like it is. And I love that about him when he stands up. And I know he truly stands up for his son Gavin. When he's on the floor, he speaks from a father's perspective. And when you come with that in mind, and also as a legislator, you come with an additional weight when you're talking about educational issues. So you're not just up there talking about House Bill number 317, 1342. He's coming from his heart, talking about what people in Oklahoma need. Certainly with the Representative Gaddis, new on the block, all of us really are. And when I see the passion that Representative Gaddis has to do right by folks, as far as I'm concerned, that's all you need. You got to have courage, you got to have the facts, and you just keep it moving. So I am honored to serve in the House with these folks. You guys give them a hand, please, because I say that because far too often we are catching it as Democrats. Somehow the 28 of us somehow are the cause of all of Oklahoma's problems. And I'm telling you guys, day in and day out, we sit in caucus meetings and we know what the truth was that was in that meeting. We know what was discussed, we know what folks said, we know what the Republicans said, but when we see it comes out in the newspaper that somehow somebody on the Democratic side is somehow holding Oklahoma up, it's hurtful. Because we're like, we thought we were operating on good faith. We thought we were actually going to be honest about our dealings, but that's not the case when you're at the Capitol. And that just comes with the territory. But like I say, I wanted them to feel the appreciation because every day they're working really hard for you. I know that when Representative Nichols was talking about the dilemma that we're having now in terms of what are we doing with this budget, and Representative Nichols, did you talk about how much we were spending each day? All right. So we know that when we were called back into this special session, we tried to tell them in May, we said, please don't take this vote on this cigarette fee, right? Mr. Boyd, I'm just not saying it. Please don't take this vote on this cigarette fee. It's illegal, right? And we knew it was illegal because it violated 3 points, and you all probably can recite it to me, right? Why that vote was illegal. We went from a cigarette tax that they had championed just a week before, and then they thought that they would get creative and just rename it a cigarette fee, and somehow they would not be raising revenue right there within the last week of session, which is unconstitutional. Also, right, it should have required 76 votes. They didn't do that, and that bill should have originated in the House of Representatives. It originated on the Senate side. So everything about that was upside down and backwards. And I said to my Republican colleague just right across the aisle, I said, why are you voting on that? And what they said to me was, let the courts figure it out. So we did, right? To your cost, the taxpayers' cost, right? We went into court, and the Supreme Court decided that that cigarette fee was unconstitutional. Did they care? Did they care that you've got the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority that's hung up? You've got Department of Human Services hung up. You've got mental health and substance abuse agencies hung up because that $215 was not forthcoming. But they did not care enough to do it the right way. So now when you hear about this dilemma that we're in, it has nothing to do with Democrats. It has to do with folks that didn't have enough integrity to do it the right way in the first place. And until we call it what it is and talk about it the way it needs to be discussed, people are always like, well, let's not point fingers. You know, it's no one's to blame here. You know, no one's to blame. Somebody is to blame. Okay, when we're wrong, we need to admit that we're wrong, right? And to the tune of some $31,000 a day, they called us back into special session because the Supreme Court said, what you guys did in session, that the people paid you to do, they sent you there to do a job. We had to come back into special session, $31,000 a day. Taxpayers, and guess how long does anybody, y'all tell me, how long did we spend in session the first day? Who knows?
17 minutes.
Well, you gave us 3 minutes more. We were there for 14 minutes. 14 minutes we spent in special session the first day. We spent about 15 minutes the next 2 days. We did absolutely nothing. We came in, they called roll, everybody got in their seats. Speaker McCall was pretty upset. He's kind of in a mood these days. And he bangs his gavel down like really, really hard, like we're all school children, right? But he was just having a bad day. And then when we have come and we see that he does not want to share this burden. And that's what it all comes down to. It all comes down to the fact that the oil and gas industry is controlling the capital.
Yes.
And if anybody disagrees with me in this room, well, let's talk about it now. And you all know if I was in a Republican event, I wouldn't have said that. I would have been on a whole other track.
Oh my goodness.
All right, and the reason being is because, you know, they're coming up with ideas about right now. They're saying, how about let's come up with some revenue, and we're saying, what about recurring revenue? How about not digging ourselves out of a hole just once, right? You're talking about $215 million, and they're just trying to build, you know, as Representative Inman says, our leader of the Democratic caucus, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, right? And it's not going to help us. And so their ideas right now are they're saying, well, how about we charge them at the gas pump, right? Fuel tax. And how about the cigarette tax, right? And we say, well, how about let's increase GPT and let's share the burden. And we are more than willing. We don't like it, but we're more than willing to come to the table for the sake of Oklahoma and say, you guys give us something, we'll try to give you something. The good thing is the 28 of us, we're needed now. Even though they told us we were irrelevant in the last session, they did. They did. They let us know that we were irrelevant. We don't need the Democrats for anything. We're going to go in here and we're going to do all the measures we can do at 51 votes, right? But really they needed 76 votes, but they got real creative with the law. And so they figured we don't have to talk to Leader Inman until the last week of session. You guys, we were there for 4 months. And they felt that they could get this budget passed. That was just basic math. I think Representative Nichols understood. We're just talking basic math here. You got to have some, just a few of us. And because they're not willing to, till this day, as late as today, just a few minutes ago, now we're hearing that they've got a faction over there on the Republican side that they're just not wanting to raise any revenue, no matter what, right? So what if the teachers are not getting paid, all right? So what if, I just came from Hamilton Elementary School just a few minutes ago. Watching the teachers do what they do. Teacher has tears in her eyes because we're not helping them. And I'm speechless because all I can say is we're trying. But she's got tears in her eyes And then, and actually this was the principal, tears in her eyes. And she said, we cannot compete with those folks who can go across the border, get $20,000 more, $10,000 more. We just can't compete. And I applauded her because what she did is she got a student improvement grant for upwards of $1 million for Hamilton Elementary. I applaud her because she has given her own teachers a $4,000 raise because she got private funds, right? I'm sorry, federal dollars, right, through this grant, and it came right to her school, and she's got that for the next 4 years. And she said to me, I'm looking for you all to do something. And what do I say to that? Because she was creative enough. She took the time to qualify for a grant that's going to get our school through for the next 4 years. That's incredible. And she's not here, but that deserves a hand. That's somebody that's making a way out of nowhere. Because she's got 101 folks at the Capitol that are disappointing her every day. So it hurts us. You got to know that we're doing the very best we can. And these are the three things we've been saying as the Democratic caucus. While you refuse to have the oil and gas industry, that's Mr. Harold Hamm, right? And we can call him by name because he's a man of great influence. But when your industry, basically, I just said it this morning, I'm going to say it here, and if I was in a Republican audience, I'd say it the same. It's corporate welfare, right? Yeah. 10 years ago, when you were looking at gross production tax is 7% approximately, and then it dropped, plummeted to 1% because we wanted to get these, basically horizontal drilling up and running, right? We wanted to get more bang for our buck, and we wanted to give an industry a shot in the arm. They're doing great, you guys. When oil was at $100 a barrel, they were doing great. Never gave the teachers a raise, though, right? And then they get down to $50 a barrel, and they start plummeting like, well, we can't do anything. They weren't doing anything for the teachers when they were rolling in the dough, right? So now, it's been increased to now 2%. We were asking for 7% in the Democratic caucus. We believe the compromise is 5%. They're not wanting to do that. Till this day, they do not want to do 5% on GPT. But what they do want to do is they want to charge you when you go to the gas pump, right? And for all you smokers, right, that we know that's an illegal activity. They act like that's a criminal activity to be a smoker. I don't smoke, I don't like it, but it's like, well, they shouldn't be smoking, so let's just charge them. $1.50 a pack is a lot of money. I'm not crazy about the idea, but we were willing to compromise. But we're just saying, come to the table, and we're saying GPT, okay, earned income tax credit for families that they cut in the last session, which was ungodly as far as I'm concerned. We would like them to restore that. We would like them also on our personal income taxes, right? Upper income folks, we want them to be taxed like they used to be. We cut all of our taxes, by the way, you guys. We were all at one time 5.25, then we went down to 5, right? It makes no sense, you guys. Never in Oklahoma's history have we been in a deficit, and then we told all of Oklahoma, you guys don't have to put any more money into the pot. As a matter of fact, you can hold on to a little bit more of your money. It has never happened in Oklahoma history until now. See, this is just not reasonable. So we, as Democrats, we talk about let's increase the GPT. Let's have the oil industry share in this burden with us, right? We talk about personal income tax. Let's try to get that raised. We think that would be helpful, okay? And I think that we're not asking too much to ask for those things, and we're having difficulty getting there. I will tell you this, we got word now. We're not sitting in the Republican caucus now by any means. Matter of fact, they have signs that say Republicans only. They put it on the outside of the door, when they're caucusing. Like we might stumble in there and get in on their secrets. I kind of think that's funny. But we're hearing word that actually a number of them are for the increased GPT. That a number of them, if their speaker would allow them, right, would really, really go to them and encourage them to let's come to the table. And we believe with our caucus and those folks, maybe 48 or so, that we might can get something done. And so we're holding on to a wing and a prayer that might happen, but it doesn't look likely. So now Governor Fallon is saying what she does not want to do, you guys. I don't want to get you all lost in all these numbers, right? But we've got the rainy day fund, and you've got the cash flow reserve fund. And they're talking about robbing that, right? This again is a one-time fix and would only get you like $120 million. It's not even, you know,
Not even a Band-Aid.
somebody said it's not even a Band-Aid. Golly. Whew. So what we're saying, that these are not viable options. But had we gone the GPT route, in about 3 years we'd be yielding about $500 million, okay? And your teacher pay raise alone was only going to require about $300 million, right? And 5,000, 6,000. So we have solutions. It'd be different if we didn't have solutions, you guys, but we do. And when anybody tells you Oklahoma doesn't have any money, that is not true. What Oklahoma has are messed up principles and priorities.